No Nation. Welcome into another episode of the Renegade Report Rundown. It's actually a little bit of Den Media Group / the Renegade Report show here. Just wanted to have a conversation with our guy, Big Game James from, as I said, Den Media Group. Not going to ramble on, do a lot of plugging. There's some breaking news. We've lost another wide receiver in Daylon Kutchian. Florida State's ranked plummets to 52, number 52 in the 247 rankings, which it's because you only got 10 recruits. You're working on it, 9, 10 recruits at this point. You still have, there's a pretty good core of offensive linemen and things you want to keep. But this is at the forefront, and one of the coaches that, has taken quite a bit of criticism. We were a few minutes late because James was having a few issues with his camera, but we've got him here in the excellent animation there of himself and in high quality audio. So what's up, James?
What's going on, man? How you doing, man? I apologize. Would love to be seen. My camera was working earlier. Don't know what's going on now, but StreamYard don't get it fixed. I'm gonna have to figure something else out.
Yeah, man, they've been making a lot of changes lately. I've stuck with StreamYard because it was like the first show I ever did on Mark Rogers, I think, and it worked, and I've had no issues up until like the past couple months. Like they changed this, then they double the price without saying anything, which is like it's still a great deal, but it's like, damn, what happened? Where did that $50 go? Oh, that StreamYard doubled. Like, glad I didn't have the pro plan. $100 would have went missing out of my checking account. So
Yeah.
on to football. I guess I'll let you open it up. These guys hear from me all the time. I know we've got this is actually simulcast on both channels, Den Media Group and the Renegade Report. So if you're watching on either or, please do us a favor. Do us a favor and go sub. If you're subscribed to the Renegade Report and not Den Media Group, which you probably aren't, but go ahead and make that happen and help him get to 10,000 or 200 away from 3,000, which will be a big jump for us. So with that said, yeah, first thoughts with the fresh news of a wide receiver decommitment. I know Wiley's the one that you're really worried about, but kind of the two guys flanking him are gone now. Seems like his days are numbered before he's a Georgia commit at this point.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff we got to do is, and I know a lot of people don't believe this, but you got to be careful with the way we communicate and what we talk about. A lot of these different things. That gives you the momentum. I mean, one of the things that fans love to say is that, oh, well, it's not our fault that a recruit decommitted. It's the coach's job to do it. But just think about, I like to try to tell people to think about this as if it's their job, right? You'll say things like, oh, I want this guy to leave so we can fire somebody. Then you get mad that the person leaves. So if you're predicting this, then you should be happy. This is on track. This is on brand. This shouldn't be no sweat. You should be like, good. This gets us to where we want to be at. But if you're not and you're mad, just think about how really toxic the environment is and who would want to come play for a fan base that's kind of like this. And I'm not knocking anybody for being upset about the product on the field. We should be like, you know what? If anything, this gets us geared up for what we need next. And McCutcheons is a good player. CJ Wiley, to me, is a guy that can come out the gate. But kudos to Texas for being able to land 2 5-stars and be able to keep what they want in there in McCutcheon in state. So, and for Ron Dugans, he's got to find answers to this. Luckily, if people were paying attention and reading the tea leaves, there is a young man that's just a little bit further south of where I'm at, about 2 hours, in Cocoa High School that recently received offers, and people are getting re-offers, and the recruiting board is just getting redone. And that young man is actually pretty good. And I don't even understand. Actually, I do understand why he didn't have the offer before, but because you did have higher ranked guys that you felt like you should get. So, man, shoot. Again, it stinks. McCutcheons is dope. The other one didn't stink as bad because I knew he was a project, a young man from South Carolina. But we went from having one of the best wide receiver classes to just having a receiver. Just having a receiver in the class. Now, that guy happens to be a diamond, and we got to just keep doing what we got to do to keep him. But, I mean, he's down here every damn weekend. So, and I mean, we'll see. But I will say, once you add, if this class is 20 kids, this will not be Florida State. I'm almost willing to bet money. And now this is kind of dangerous because whatever I say could come back to haunt me. But that Florida State won't finish 52nd in recruiting. You've got 10 prospects now. That's why you're where you're at. You're on the board. You've got two linemen that are trending towards you. You've got a wide receiver that's trending, another 4-star receiver that's trending towards your direction. You're trying to flip a couple other guys that you have some different things with, but I mean, you can't lose on the recruiting trail and lose on the field and expect the fan base to be happy. So I completely understand with all of that, but we will have. Here's what I do know: there will be 30 to 40 new players that are on FSU's campus come this time next year. Um, Most of them, there'll be a combination of high school guys and portal guys. So, and with new coaches come new recruit focus, and we'll see.
I'll answer this one real quick. Todd Pope says, "Will this be the worst recruiting class of the program?" No, you have to really go back and look at things. Even like the 9, 10 guys we have committed now, like up until last 2 years, we didn't have the first 3 recruiting classes. No, there was like 6, 7 guys like that in the whole class. So I still think it would be somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's going to match up to what last year's did, but I definitely agree with James. It's not going to end at 52. It might be another 15, 16, 17. It would be nice to get something better. But this is something that I've hammered home, and I've talked to James about it a couple of times on the Voice of College Football. You know, you're fighting a tightrope when you want to talk about making coaching changes and everything that people want. I want, everybody wants at least one. I don't know of any FSU fan that doesn't think at least one move needs to be made after the season. Well, yeah, as James alluded to, it's going to have to get worse before it gets better, because what are the odds that the person that was in love with, and we'll use Ron Dugans because that's what we're talking about as wide receivers, you're going to be able to, the next guy's going to be able to pick right up and keep Wiley or whoever, like that's going to be tough. So, be careful what you ask for. So it's kind of aggravating sometimes when the people are like, this guy's got to go. And then it's like, well, then you complain when the guy decommits. Well, he's a lame duck. That's what you're seeing with Napier, why he's not going to have a ton of movement and recruiting here the next couple months. When you're a lame duck, it's hard to recruit your position. Not that anybody on the staff is, as Mike Norvell is concerned, but you got to think about messaging, like James said. And I'm guilty of it sometimes. When you got to fill time, we got to talk about this stuff. So yeah, be careful what you wish for, because you'll get it. Wide receiver, I don't want to hammer home, and we've done plenty on different guys, but as we stick to recruiting and move to offensive line a little bit, you spoke about the board opening up. That's something that has been really nice to see the past couple of weeks. Seems like Alex Atkins is making some different offers, and also Javon Boggs, who you mentioned earlier. We were like his 32nd offer or whatever, but nice to see that board expanding. But Mario Nash, you get some work there. But it's a touchy subject. I was telling you about some jokes getting cracked in our group chat about, some of the guys that open up the board to on the offensive line, besides the Mario Nashes of the world. But like, how do you balance Solomon Thomas and, that pretty good recruiting class he has coming in with the people that want him demoted and possibly bringing a new offensive line guy? Because, I mean, the production, the stuff on the field, like, man, it's tough. But even how do you evaluate it with the quarterback changes and everything?
Here's the other thing too, man. Rooting against your best interest, right? Man, one, I told people this. So it's two things, two ways. Like, if you really, really, really want to bounce, if you want Mike Norvell gone, right? I always tell people 56,000 people, not even giving 1,000, pledging $1,000 puts you in a completely different puts you in a frame. That shows that you have the backing of the base. Excuse me, 65,000, because it's 65 million. But you have the backing of a base. You have people that are really there. You're doing a grassroots effort, right? So that's one. Secondly, if you don't have that, which most of you people who are doing your talks, and a lot of you guys, because one, I know the Javion Hilson situation extremely well. What people don't realize about me, so when I got cut from New Orleans, right, I was a beach bum in Brevard County. So believe it or not, I was riding around with a bike between Merritt Island, Cocoa, and Cocoa Beach. I would ride my bike around looking like Debo with a white beater and some shorts, right? So I know a lot of people at Cocoa High School, Chocolate City, which is where Boggs currently is. And we're not out of that recruitment. So when my man says people were laughing at him FSU commitment, you sound like the people who said Derrick Henry was driving around in the Charger that he got for free from Alabama. Like, yeah, that sounds good, and it makes it seem like you in the know. But the reality of the situation is I might not know you, but I know this. And you may have some people that can tell you that. But I know the coaches, I know his people, I know all of those different things. So when you say stuff like that, all it does is it's called confirmation bias. And you're doing these different things to make you, because again, if that's how you feel, why would I want to come to the school that you feel that way about? So let's put it like this. If Florida State does make that decision, who the fuck do you think is coming to Florida State as a coach? That is career suicide. Career suicide. That's what you're asking. Excuse me, that's a program. That's asking for a program suicide. Is what you're effectively asking for. Like you're saying, you're so mad at the product that you don't want anybody to come here. You don't want anybody to come here. You're upset with the overall product because you don't want anybody to come here because you're upset with the overall product. Why would anybody want to come here? And we need to fire our coach. So in all of that, what people are thinking is a coach that just signed a $65 million contract is on the hot seat, which is not. And again, it is, you should be pissed. I'm pissed. Nobody wants to lose. I promise you they pissed. Even the players who look like they're playing like shit. I know everybody hates the NIL and especially with the players not performing very well with NIL. Like I want my NIL money back too. But that's just not how it works, unfortunately. But you know, it stinks. They paid but it shows you they paid the wrong people. What they got to do is revamp, and you have to give them a chance to revamp and do what Florida, like for example, Florida fans, and I follow a ton of them. They're not happy with Napier. Napier's probably a lame duck coach and probably getting out of here. But goddamn, you don't see them saying, "Why would anybody want to come to my school?" You don't see them saying, "Please don't come." They're still actively recruiting guys like Tramell Jones. They're still actively recruiting. The fan base and the boosters are actively recruiting these people while we're telling people you shouldn't come here. Do you not see the bullshit in that logic?
Yeah, I haven't seen a ton of that because I don't follow a ton of Florida people, but absolutely, when I see that nastiness from Florida State fans, it's like why, like fight amongst yourselves, but like don't see the rest of the world of it. Like don't see us losing it. Let's not crash out in front of the rest of the world. Like call me or James, and we'll bullshit with you, and we'll try to talk you through it. But yeah, I feel that same way quite a bit. I'm guilty of it sometimes.
Talking to youth over the years, George, I've come to this is what I love talking to people who were raised differently than me. And you know what I find out? That we have so many similarities in the way we were raised that it's crazy. I don't know what your people told you, but my mama used to say, man, we can argue in the house, but when we go out here, we don't want other people in our business.
James.
Oh, can you hear me? Oh, shit.
You're back. Sorry.
You can hear me?
As soon as you started to ask me about how my people work and you started to go on the story,
not necessarily how white people work because it's sad.
We always talking about how we grew up and we talk.
George, you're not white, you country. It's a difference. I think it's more
I'm Greek, though, and 25 Italian. So like I got some olive in the skin for sure.
I definitely know that Italian, and you probably had this. They say, if we arguing in the house, but we don't want other people in our business. Don't talk about our business in other people's houses. We can argue amongst ourselves. I'm cool with it in the spaces. I'm cool with it in the group chats. I'm cool with it in a lot of these other places, man. But goddamn, we over here, y'all we troll ourselves. We eat our own. And then you wonder why people if I was a player, I don't want to hear this bullshit. Like if I was if I was a current recruit, I was like, goddamn.
Yeah, man. Look, that brings the subject. I won't call any names, but a lot of these bigger outlets, it's like, do you really have to get the meme off? You have to show the rep of Conrad Hussey on the punch drill. Like that's the one you pick, with the penalty and the not wrapping up and stuff. It's like, that doesn't mean shit. It's just something that happens in practice every day. But like, why are we doing these jokes? Like, oh my goodness. Yeah, I get it. I'm right there with you on that stuff. And that's kind of how I was raised too. So it makes me squirm sometimes when I see certain things. And it's not just the FSU football. It extends to all kinds of other things. And we've had those conversations too. But I don't think Mike Norvell is going anywhere. I've said this like 10 times. I was talking to my best friend Mike the other day about it. I've talked to you about it. Like, I have 100% faith that in 2025 you can have a 9-10 win season, and in 2026 Mike Norvell will have us right back in championship contention. I truly believe that. Nobody is here saying the standard isn't the standard, and it's okay to crash out and go 0-4 or 1-5 to start the season every 4 or 5 years. But this was his first time ever in any situation as a coach being in year 5 and rebuilding. He had a prominent rise. He spent a couple of years, however many years at Arizona State, gets a Memphis job. He's there for 4 years, and he comes to Florida State and he built a championship team. I think something lost even in amongst myself in hindsight when you look at this, and we talked about this on the Voice of College Football. 2019 transfer class, 2020 transfer class, 2021 transfer class, 22 and 23. This draft, we lost the combination of the best players from all of those. When Jerry Jones showed up here, FSU fans cussed and hated him for the first 2 years. He ends up being a third-round pick to the Jaguars, and he's showing up in the stat sheet every week. So is there a chance for maybe Earl Little Jr. to become that at some point in time? Can Conrad Hussey get over this little temper tantrum and wanting to close his eyes and not wrap up anymore and things? Like, I think all those things can come for full circle. But that isn't to say we aren't going to sit here and talk about the changes that I do think need to be made and things. But I think some folks are thinking 7-8 coaches on the staff. And you can speak on that, but I'll say I think it would maximum be 3 or 4. I know it's not a great subject, but whatever. Just go on to the next thing. I'm rambling.
Nah, you said I mean 7 or 8 coaches, man. That's I don't think that per se will happen, but I do.
I should have just said his name. Tiny Hat says me. I'm people.
Oh, that's funny. But I do think, like I said, just in general. So, like, guys, where I personally see this. Actually, well, before I get into that, let's just talk about because some of my friends were like, we're talking like this has not happened. It's not normal. What other coaches have done this? Go see Brian Kelly year 6. That's one example of it, and then they made it to the college football playoff. Dadgum, it was a bunch of coaches see Jim Harbaugh. I want to say Jim Harbaugh, literally year 5 is where those different things went. I don't think Adrian, I think if Solomon goes, I don't want to tell him why. I don't want to tell anybody why Solomon flips if Atkins isn't there. Solomon definitely flips if Atkins isn't there. And I think at this point, a lot of the guys who are riding out, they're riding out knowing that this product ain't getting better this year. So, but anyway, so going into that, I think there are examples in the modern time where guys had to kind of step back, rebuild. If you want to go really, really old school, Joe Pa was all but fired until 2005. But here's the thing. So if let's say we bring in a guy, a co-OC, and you bring in a guy like my man from UNLV. He's coming in, he's coached quarterbacks and wide receivers. So that means that's one or two, that's one position that's gone. Typically, when you bring in a coordinator, you bring in somebody and then they have the guys that they really want to work with. Now, if you bring in a young guy,
is there pressure for the UNLV guy to call plays when he gets here? Like,
I think
because I know a lot of people think that's going to happen. Do you think that would actually be something?
I think if he comes here, they'll have to give him control. Or what will happen is you'll have a passing game coordinator and you'll have a run game coordinator. But the truth be told, if you just want me to be, if I'm being completely honest with you, the person who has the most control over the offense and dictates the play control, and I mean control because they are the only 5 players that do actively participate in every play. And that's the O-line coach, because they're the ones who pick the blocking scheme and they're the ones who pick for the passing game and for the running game. So, so again, if they bring in a coordinator, then that offensive guy will probably get himself will be a coach, and he'll bring in another one. So that gives you 2 right there. Tiny Hat, I think Tiny Hat's the one who said he wanted 5, right?
He wants like 7 or 8, but he'll settle for 5.
That'll get you 2
minimum.
I think on the defensive side, If Randy's gone, you would have to get Randy and Dell and Surtain in some capacity. Not Surtain's not being fired. I'm just saying my opinion is that Surtain's goal was to get to the NFL. I believe he's a good enough coach. He's done enough to be able to do that. But even if he stays, I only see 2 coaches potentially leaving. Now, if Randy leaves, that gives you a co-DC spot open. And I think that's where you really need a good recruiter at, as well as a developer of talent, because that's really dropped the ball. And if you go back and you watch my Teach Tape Tuesdays, you'll see that's where I'm the most critical in the Clemson game of us just not having guys scrape, come downhill, and I don't even know how you do those different things. I think it's hard. I think a lot of times the way the game comes now, D-line, if you get a new D-line coach, he's going to want to coach the entire D-line. So that's just
I think that's what we like. Isn't that perfect the way to fit in? This is what I've kind of put out there, my idea, because my issue with Odell and Pat, is that they're both so similar in that they're just not these go get it high school recruiters, but they will develop when they get their hands on you. I love Pap as a special teams coordinator, so you want to keep him somehow. So if Odell becomes an analyst and he can still coach on the field, retires, whatever the case may be, if they make that choice, you bring in a guy that can coach the entire D line. You can have Paps be a special teams coordinator / D-ends coach to help with the defensive line, and that works. Like that's like what I've been like. And I'm not with the 7 or 8, like I said, but that's where I get to my 4 or 5. You can split these different groups up. I love what you said about bringing the guy in from UNLV. I wasn't sure exactly what you meant on Mark's show, but if he's calling the plays, but he's the passing game coordinator, and Alex Atkinson can be and run game coordinator, offensive line coach, man, I mean, you could work it out different ways. You could bring in another offensive line coach. You could move the tight end coach here. So, yeah, I love that. I think you just hit the nail on the head with what needs to happen, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the facts. I mean, man, this is crazy, man. I love this, dog. This is, what people always say, rent free. Like, boys, you can't even win, and like, just enjoy your wins because you do this every year.
You pay me $10 to say this shit, bro. So I'll say it. How am I here for it? All good just a year ago, just been Norvell's and guy, and time to think beyond the staff. 10-26 gonna be a hard time to listen. Yeah, whatever. Okay, appreciate it, bro. Kwame County, he's always coming through, but damn, bro, like you said, rent free.
It was all good. It was all good. Like when I was a senior in high school, and they was winning championships.
Been a long time. It's easy to kick a man when they're down. I get it, but hey, $10 will help go to the channel, so we appreciate that.
I wasn't paying when we were 13-0. I wasn't. The only time I worried about Miami was Miami hate week, and that's the only time outside of me being enjoying. I actually enjoy Cam Ward playing ball. I actually really think Cam Ward is a boy. I tell you what, man, like he's fun to watch. He reminds me a lot, like I said, 2014 2014 Jameis Winston.
Mm-hmm.
He's the same reason you came back. He's the reason why you were down too. But that's exciting and fun to watch. But just getting back into all of it, it's like again, there are people the same people who are trolling us have literally shown you what happens when you actually get somebody in the most important position. You and the fan base, like this is the wild part. The fan base told me that Jordan Travis made babies cry when he threw the football. You wanted Disney Channel, Mackenzie Milton with one called him Hop Along, Lieutenant Dan to come out there and beat a quarterback because you thought Jordan Travis couldn't throw. Then Jordan Travis went out there and all he did was actually, to be honest with you, save Mike Norvell in year 1. We should have lost to Jacksonville State. They went 5-7. You saw that. He developed. You had a better quarterback in year 2, and you had some better pieces around. But Miami got Cam Ward and was and Cam Ward is the difference.
Cam Ward like much change, but that's the difference for sure.
And if again, here's the reality. The first sign of getting better is acceptance. And I'm sure they are truly accepting this. We missed with DJU. We thought DJU, as I've always said, DJU should have. All we needed DJU to be was mid. That 3-to-1 touchdown and interception ratio, and he hasn't been able to do that. And he got hurt. And, hey, you couldn't. He regressed. Right now, you got Brock in the situation, and you're hoping you rock out with your Brock out in Brocktober. It's going to be difficult. But I am so convinced that, damn, I'm over here writing on shit, forgetting that my goddamn camera's not working. But
we're losing.
You want to know how you behave? You want to know how you behave? You want to know how you get yourself out of this mess? You want to know who to emulate? It's the guys in 305. They've been doing this since 2002. They've literally been doing this. They showing you the blueprint. Just keep saying we back. We coming back. When Miami was losing, dog, Miami has never conceded. I have never had a Miami fan tell me, even when they're bad, that they're losing to Florida State. Even when they suck. They stick to recruiting. They do a fucking good job. I've never not admitted this. And they for the first time in the transfer portal era, they hit on the big dogs. Bump just recruiting. Simeon Barrow is a hit. Cam Ward is a hit. Sam Brown is a hit. Damian Martinez is a hit. That right there, we don't have, like, Roydell wasn't a hit. DJU wasn't a hit. Marvin Jones Jr. to this point has not been a hit. Like, you can't say the same thing. So, I mean, shout out to them. They're doing good. I think the biggest reality is, you could get back out of it. We don't have to pay those people next year. It's not like the NFL where you're locked into 2 to 3 year deals. You come in, you miss. And one thing that I was wrong on, 100% wrong on, is that I totally negated the December transfer portal window, sitting here thinking that the players that would leave from the playoff caliber teams would be better. And man, that's the bottom line. And oh shoot, I forgot. You get better recruiters, get better evaluators. It happens. People miss, and then you hit. They've hit way more than they missed, except for this year. It stinks this year. But and I think they need to revamp bigger than coaches. Everybody just thinks that it's off field. I mean, it's on field. It's the off field coaches that mean just as much in recruiting. You got to go one. You got to first step. You have to fill the void that damn, what's to do with Dirty Shoes? They used to work for Rivals. They got fired.
Yeah,
Bartow. You got to fill Bartow.
I've yet to get any confirmation there, but he still has it on his Twitter profile. But there was articles he left back in June. There's been rumors that he may come back. But yeah, that's who he's talking about, Ryan Bartow. I'd love that. Yeah,
Bartow's not there. You got to get Bartow. You got to, or if whatever. You need to. You have to. Again, I don't call for jobs, but you have to reevaluate. You have to evaluate Chuck Cantor. You have to evaluate Q1 Ratliff. You have to evaluate. I'm trying to think. I know a lot of people are gunning for Derek Ray's head, and he has to, and rightfully so. He can get the praise of being like an administrator of the year. You have to take the credit. I mean, you have to take the credit for the bad stuff too. So I say reevaluate as opposed to fire, but you also have to revamp and bolster those staffs. Find some young blood that's good, that has relationships, because in recruiting, relationships matter. I think, again, I'm a guy, I've never been a hater. I don't know how the people troll, because I have friends that I've grown through playing on the ball that are at other rival schools. So, like, me knowing Derek Nicholson real well, me playing, but having played with Derek, having played with Pata, Todd Stroud is a good friend of mine. I'm sitting there looking at what they do with their off field in terms of like their recruiting and their player development. It's a like I can see that. That's good. Learning about Florida through Trammell, through the Trammell situation. While people are writing articles about Trammell leaving and why is he spending so much time, I'm learning why he's spending so much time, and you're doing a comparison and contrast. I think Mike should take that and go back and say, you know what? Here's what we need to do to bolster our recruiting. Here's what we need to do with our analysts. And don't get me wrong, George Henshaw, I love George Henshaw to death. I played with his son Matt. George actually coached me in New Orleans as a running backs coach. George Henshaw's my mother's age. He's older than my mother. Probably time to get some analysts that are a little younger or former head coaches or something of that nature. Same thing with my guy from Middle Tennessee State. I think Rick Stockstill's a good coach. I think Rick Stockstill's a little long in the tooth. We might need to get some younger.
Not sure if you guys can hear James. I've lost him here for a second, but he was preaching, and I agree 100%. Like when you look around college football, uh, all the different coaches, you know, I don't know. Let's see here. Well, I don't know what happened there. I stopped being able to hear James. Hopefully he'll pop back up. I guess you guys hopefully can hear me now. He was talking about the analyst Rick Stockstill, the Florida George gentleman. Yeah, when you look around college football, it's a brand new era in coaching. People are retiring left and right. There's only a couple coaches in Dabo Sweeney with a national championship, maybe one other. You know, it's very very different right now. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the audio and everything, but we're doing our best with it. Hopefully, James will pop up here again. But yeah, if you have any questions, I guess now would be a good time to throw them up there. We've been going for about 32 minutes. We won't be going too much longer. Um, George, if you look around football right now, there's a lot of young kids playing. Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of young kids playing. There's a lot of young kids coaching, and that's in 2017, one of the biggest issues with Florida State was a reluctance in Jimbo Fisher to make changes. But it's not so much that he didn't want to make changes back then; he didn't have the support to make the changes he wanted to go and get. They were wanting him to replace guys who were making 1.2 million that had worked up to that level, who weren't, performing to a certain level. Um, they wanted him to go out and get somebody for 800,000 or maybe just under 1 million to replace them, and you weren't going to get top guys in the country like that. So that was the issue there. I think it's a little bit different now. Michael Alford with, the different monies that are being raised, all the $500 million worth of construction going on, and the different bonds and things, the $250 million set aside to fight the ACC. No, I think there will be the full kind of support of the boosters and everything to go make whatever changes need to get made. But it's hard. How do you talk about these things like James was just talking about? Things that are going on at different schools that maybe recruits reason they're spending time there. How do you talk about that without throwing your team under the bus, without throwing these guys under the bus? But it is conversations that you have to have. I missed these. I kept meaning to say it and I kept forgetting, but my guy Robbie Heck has been with us now for 9 months. A member, Adrian Tankard, 8 months. We really appreciate you guys coming to hang out and those super chats from Palmy County. Look at that accent. Put that bang back on. Yeah, again, it's tough. Getting into the game as far as against Clemson, the first two drives were pretty hard. The third and fourth didn't even go that well. You pretty much spotted Clemson 17 points right off the bat as James joins us again. But after that 17-0, like I almost don't even want to talk about it. 17-0. After that point, I believe it was 13-12 Florida State. And there are a ton of bright spots and things to be excited about. And there's this thing with fans, and I want to let you speak on this because, like, and I'm part of it. You spoke to, I don't know what you called it, but cognitive dissonance, whatever, you confirmation bias. So you get the confirmation bias when Brock goes in and has the best QBR and the best PFF of the year. You get confirmation bias when 40 and 18, your two freshman tight ends, in one game accomplish more than Morlock has his entire career and any of the other young tight ends, 86. It's like, so yeah, there's confirmation bias. But at the same time, how do you balance that without, like, come on, man, you finally got it. Just be happy about it. Uh, it's hard to do when you're losing. I think I'm feeling really damn good about Duke. But I know I lean more towards the middle. I'm not on the extreme of some of this. But we had this argument kind of on Voice of College Football about, is there such thing as a gamer? And like what I saw in that was like my whole argument for getting Brock out there against SMU or the team before, because those first 2 or 3 drives, like it didn't happen, but it was just like a light switch that went off. It wasn't scripted. It was, they handed it off. Toafili finally broke one for 10 yards and he got comfortable and they hit a screen. They hit Hakeem. They did all this. You get the touchdown to the tight end. It was a beautiful drive and he had confidence through the roof from that point forward. And Clemson obviously wanted to milk the clock and things of that nature, but you played winning football for the most part. If it wasn't for the defense giving up that just 80-yard gash up the middle, like it was kind of, you had a chance to make something happen with them very deep down to 10 at the beginning of the fourth quarter. So, yeah, I know we kind of lost each other. I don't know what happened with the audio and we switched it up a little bit, but probably good we move on. We're only going to do about an hour, but yeah, thoughts on what I just blurted out.
Yeah, man, my bad too, by the way. The power went out in my house. I have no idea how that happened. My power was flourishing during the actual storm. So I think where again, and the gamer thing comes from, I feel there are some positions where you can have that. And I just had the reel is going viral. A good friend of mine, I just asked my friend Peter Ward. I said, "Hey, man, what are your thoughts on that? Like, I'm just a fullback. Like, what is a guy who's considered one of the best to have ever played it? What does he think about it?" And it's not just, it wasn't just because it would give the team a better look. One, it gives everybody around you a better look when you give your best. So, like, if your wide receivers are really going 100%, it makes your DBs better. And it builds confidence because you're going to be, because at one point, you're like, I'm not afraid of what I see on the field because what I see in practice every day is tougher than that. So that kind of negates the whole thing. And then everybody says having the Mamba mentality and they love Michael Jordan and hell, they even love LeBron. And that's not how any of those guys, like none of the people we ever want to emulate are gamers. And there's a reason why. I'll even, again, to go and use a rival. I heard Cam Ward express, was it Cam Ward or Martinez? Might have been Damian Martinez said, we practice like we hate each other. And it's just like they're out there trying to truly get the better of each other each and every day. And I think that goes to the whole biblical principle of iron sharpens iron. That being said,
seems like the iron was on the backup to start the year, and now the iron's on the first.
I didn't need to see practice to know that Carl Morlock needed to be benched. I needed to see 5 drops against Boston College. And when you really go back and you think about it, it's never one person's fault why you lose, right? But man, it's hard to not put it on Kyle Morlock. You can go back to every game. You can go back and to a point where he dropped a critical play. Boston College, multiple shots in the end zone. Like, you get that and you're in a completely different ball game. You score those touchdowns. And I think it's easy to put all the blame on DJU because we never fell in love with DJU. But Dante's basketball, I'm with you. We need to get some, like, I pointed it out. This went viral, and somebody wanted to tag Ja'Kai Douglas. They tagged Ja'Kai Douglas on my reel. Like, shit, I ain't afraid of that dude. He can't block. So I know he ain't got hands. I'm saying that in jest, but like, if he goes out and he makes a block, Jaylen Brown doesn't get a concussion, and he probably scores a touchdown. There was an opportunity against Clemson where you had Hakeem Williams caught that quick pass. and you had Ja'Kai Douglas, who made a much better block for Hakeem, but Malik Benson decided that he had two players to block, and his mindset was, I'm not going to block either. But Hakeem still got, I believe, 8 to 9 yards on that. It's an overall mentality where you can play some of the youngins in key places and see that they're going to get better. But there were some things in that game that, if I want to take, Clemson's the best front seven that we've seen all year. He had time to throw. The first pass to Landon Thomas was a slow developing play that he had plenty of time to sit in the pocket. He didn't have to scramble, he just sat in the pocket and he threw. A lot of the big plays, he was able to have time. So I think finding your 5 guys that you're going to roll with is what you're going to do. I think, as much as I was critical while watching it live of Otto, just maybe Otto grows from this. But I think wholesale changes of playing all young guys is just not conducive for what you want, because you still got to compete to win games. So when people say the season is lost, I mean, maybe to you, my goal is to go 7, is to win the last 7. And even in that, making sure we go 1 for 1 in the last 2 real big games that we have.
So this is where the road.
Both on the road, but you have something to play for. You might not like bowl games. You might not care about bowl games, but that's 15 extra practices that those guys got. That's 15 more days of development. That's 15 days when you can go or even if they go 5 and 7. 5 and 7 has been done before, and you can kind of make up for that. And you can get what you need to get, but it's terribly hard to replace guys through injury, through all these different things, man. So I personally don't. It's not. I think it's never as dramatic or damning as what people think. I just think when plays are there. I'll say this, and I always say this: there were plays to be made, and I happen to know a Clemson coach. And that's what they were saying. They're trying to clean up some stuff for them to move on to the season, because there were many plays to be made against that Florida State had against Clemson. They just didn't make those plays. I mean, we've seen Kentron Portier drop passes. We saw him do that. We saw them do that with Brock. I mean, I promise you, they're not practicing a play where they throw the ball to you wide booty, butt naked ass open, and you play patty cake with the ball and put it down. Like, I promise you, that's not a drill. Even as much as 247 damn near makes it seem like it's a drill, I promise you it's not a drill. And then, like I said, what really shined the light on me is when I was eating dinner last week. I was talking to one of my teammates, and he was breaking it down, and he's an alum, and he had passion because he is an alum. And he's like, it's not that bad. I don't understand why they aren't performing to a level in which is higher. So, they got to get the crazy thing is, I can tell you all of this, but that's how you get fired, is having guys where it should look better, but it doesn't look better. So they got to get it done.
You drove right down the path, right into my trap. Not a trap. Just luckily I remember this. It's the last big thing I wanted to have this conversation. So the screen game, and the quick game, and the blocking of the wide receivers, as our guy mentioned before, that's 40% of our offense, what we run. Somebody did a chart with the EPA success rates and things. And this has been my argument all year about the run game. As bad as the run game is, and it only accounts for 20% of your offense, that quick game and screen game has been that much worse. It's way worse. And within that group, Lawrence Toafili is averaging 4.8 yards a carry. So when you say all this about receivers, and even though they're good and the tight ends, it took this long, why is it that Cam Davis gets so many carries on first down? I get he's bigger and it works, but I just, for the life of me, a guy who's a senior, redshirt senior, whatever he is, you've seen it, you put it on him. You put that ACC championship game on him. Our 2 best rushing attacks is when he got plus 15 yards, and that's how he averages almost 5 yards a carry. Why can't, what are they seeing on tape that they don't trust him to do something, and not, why does he have to be a wide receiver? It's really driving me nuts. And that's my one criticism that I can't get over about this whole thing. So I want to hear just your opinion on it. Obviously, everybody knows how I feel about it.
I mean, I have no idea why they're playing in the manner in which they're playing. It's a very interesting. I mean, playing the guys they play at some in some moments. Um, I I do think Cam's got, because especially with Cam played basically Wildcat quarterback at high school, so he actually needs a little bit of time to learn how to make those plays a little bit better. I want to show something if you don't mind me sharing this.
Absolutely, anytime.
A lot of people talk about, why are we throwing things, and in the manner in which we're doing it. I get it. Let's see. Is that
There.
up on? You got to put it up on the screen.
Yeah, I'm getting it.
I want to see. This is a quarterback in the NFL who went 28 for 34, 371 yards. I want you. You can see where, you see where where is it? You see the blue line is the line of scrimmage, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Almost a third of his completions were behind the line of scrimmage. Swing routes, stop routes, things that we run, because that's where the defense was playing. The corners are playing 5 to 7 yards off with another safety, but with the next person being a safety at 15 behind them, with two receivers over there. It's called motherfucker ball. You got more motherfuckers over there than what they have to do it. It's an effective play. It's basically when your run game isn't working, you do that because that's actually nothing more than it's basically a toss.
It's like we're doing, but it feels like we're doing it in reverse. It's like they keep trying to pound that screen game, and when it doesn't work, they finally hand it off, and the offense gets going.
But our run game,
the fan watching.
We had 22 yards rushing on 23 carries. That's what I'm saying. Like
the numbers, but the screen game was 10 times worse. You had like 5 yards on like 15 tries.
The problem is, and people are like, why does Mike look the way he looks? It's because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's supposed to work. Yeah. Like I said, people want to put it on a coach, development, or just a player. But as my former teammate who coaches, who was a defensive coordinator at a major rival, stated, we wanted some of those guys. I know they're good. Y'all beat us for some of those guys. We had to go somewhere else. There is something else that it's easier for us to just pull out every cliche, everything that's going, and just, damn. I don't know again. I'm one of those guys that's willing to tell you, I don't know, bro. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to try to make myself sound smarter. It's supposed to work. And I can show you on film. I don't know how it didn't work.
Wide receiver, that's been his MO. He hasn't had the, AJ Browns and guys of the world, but his receivers at Miami his last couple of years, they walked their ass off. So that is
the one thing that everybody picked on do. Is one thing they're going to do is they're going to block, man. They don't do nothing else. They're going to block.
Yeah. What about? And I got to say, when you said 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I thought you was about to start singing the 10 correct commandments for a second.
Man, that's what it feels. Right now. I get where people aren't having enjoyment, because the only way you probably could have some enjoyment is if you're high on crack. But the reality of the situation is, it's like, and again, it's all jokes aside, man. It's there. If it should be better, it ain't better. It's wild, and man, these cats is like really just saying like they have no idea. I'm not going to go on the limb like what got Big No, which was clearly trolling when he said that guys are X's and O's. They basically were saying, how do you beat Mike Norvell's system? And here's what I can tell you, and I hate to say this. This is no disrespect to them. They do a fairly decent job of breaking down things for a lot of guys who didn't really play. I can promise you, ain't no coach looking at that. They already have access to all the film. Like, that's the one thing which I always find ironic. They tell media not to like videotape stuff sometimes. Like, the other team don't have 3 camera angles of what the opponent is doing. It's not like high school where you get to hide film and you don't share it. They all subscribe to the same thing. Matter of fact, they can get colleges have all access to every player's every school's what do you call it, highlights and whatnot. But um all I can say is that changes will be made, whether it be coaches, whether it be players that are there currently, whether it be admin, but and that's not even coming out of the realm. That's not even like having to, you don't have to be an insider to realize that. You know why? Common sense tells you that. Just like you can't fire a coach who gave you two of the best years in your company's decade. Like, I mean, if you were in business, this is always like to tell people, don't look at this like it's entertainment to you, it's business to everyone else. Like if you gave him unprecedented growth within the decade and you took him out of the Mercs, you're not going to get fired. But if you go from the best, one of the top 4 years in your company's illustrious 75-year history, because we haven't even played football. This might be more than 75. Florida State hasn't even played football for 100 years. That's why we do things like create suites and things like that. Because a lot of y'all are very vocal with your thumbs and not with your funds. But if you go from one of the top 4 seasons in your company's illustrious year to just spiking, even if Florida State goes 5-7, and it's not one of their and it's not one of their worst years per se, but they go from 13 to less than half of the win total, somebody has to be fall on the sword for that. Somebody has to pay. It's hard to just come back with the same exact group of guys, because you expected some attrition, but you did not expect to be this bad. 10 wins get you playing competitive games and talking about playing in the ACC championship in November, as opposed to right now. All of the things that we're talking about right now and why we're talking about it is why coaches get fired.
It's hard because, there were calls, there were people out there, myself included, that wanted a couple changes after this year. But what James said rings true. Like, how hard is it? Like, they just went 13-0. It's hard to move somebody, but that's the problem. And that's what distinguishes football coaching from, like, any coaching in sports. Like, you don't get a chance to see how they're going to be able to rebuild, but once every 4 years. It's not something that until it happens. Like, we had our concerns about recruiting and stuff, but when you go 13-0, it's like, okay, we gave them the benefit of the doubt. We were hoping, like James said, for lesser. At this point, it's just really easy to look in hindsight, but that's a tough spot. But when you go 13-0,
that you had
was it Mike or was it Ron Dugans? Or was he Ron Dugans along for the ride? Not to, I shouldn't even say his name. I love Ron Dugans. He's a great. We'll see what happens there. But it's just, how do you assign who did what in coaching staffs? You see one assistant go off and be the greatest head coach ever. You see the other one who was great at Tampa Bay or New England go off and never do anything again. It's like, it's really more difficult than people make it want to sound.
I mean, it's just kind of, again, like I said, it is what it is type thing. You hope when you go 13-0, you hope and we almost had it like a Fuller having his name mentioned with Boston College. You hope to have a guy go and take that next role. But it kind of goes from there. But I saw our Wilmer put some very good points and some good things in there. Like, you do only see the players go up against each other, but a lot of times you know what it looks like. And I just keep trying to tell people, like, when I'm hearing it from opposing coaches that didn't come from a sugar-coated family, that have no reason to tell you like what they're telling you, that they're not, there's no way they're that bad. When you hear SMU coach say, for lack of better words, they're going to figure it out. I just don't want them to figure it out against me. And it's not blowing smoke. It's just what it is, man. And again, I go back this. I've never sugarcoated anything when it came to Florida State. When they weren't any good, I didn't say they were any good. To the point where everybody was just like, I had people in my DMs. I had people talk about, so during that time, it was the No Game Day Discord and the fifth quarter Discord. And No Game Day said James is this tag lover and James just hates Mike Norvell. And I'm like, I don't know where people get this. I don't hate Mike Norvell. I'm loyal to the logo. My coach was Bobby, and I have no reason to like or dislike Mike. And I actually do like Mike, but and even then I did like Mike. It's not, I don't hate the guy. I want my school to be good. It does no, the only benefit I get from them being sorry is that it increases my chances as I get older of being in a Hall of Fame. Because they got to put somebody in, right? But I don't want to be
Well, I
in
want you on the staff. We
yeah.
need to get James on the staff, and he can get me my credential, and then I can be wrong after witnessing it with my own eyes, and then everybody will be you'll have a
I
million
don't
subscribers. We'll get to 4,000. It'll be great.
$250,000 will let me work from home, and you'll get everybody that you want in from the Big Bend, from Pensacola to Savannah to I-4. You'll get everybody, I-4 corridor. You'll get everybody that you want from out of those areas. But if you want me to move back home,
the funds, we'll make it happen. We'll get something going.
If you want me back home in Tallahassee, it's going to cost $500,000. But I'm saying all that to say is, when I went up there, I mean, so much so that, remember, it went viral. My son said, "Daddy, is this a high school team we're watching or a college team we're watching?"
Full
So
circle.
when I went that next year and I watched the spring practice, I said, this is the best spring I've seen them have in 5 years at that point. It's because I was critical and I was telling the truth about that. It's but when they saw that, everybody's like, damn, James must be saying. Then when I saw him the next year, the 13-1 year, I'm like, yo, I can't say there's as big of a jump as there was from the 5-7 to the 10-3, but I could definitely say that this team is better than the 10-3 team. Then we go 13-1. Now, I didn't see them be as good as this, but I damn sure did not see 1-5 starting off the year. I can promise you that, man. And I think what needs to happen, and this is my opinion, you want to see it get right? One band, one sound.
Yes.
And this is me. You can, in war, you can learn from your enemies tactics that you may not have, that you can take and implement to make yourself stronger. I think instead of the media, and this is just my opinion, they can do whatever they want to do. They make a lot of money doing it, and I don't control their checks. But I know as for me, I'm going to figure out reasons why it should work. I'm going to be critical of the wins and the losses. I'm going to talk about the recruiting. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell somebody, why should you come to Florida State? That would be disingenuous of me, who loves my alma mater. I will always have a slant toward Florida State. I will always tell guys that nobody eats more off of one touchdown than I did against Miami in 2005. So when I'm discussing things, I'm going to discuss from that aspect. In terms of recruiting, I am going to continue to tell anybody who asks me, hey, here's why I made this decision. And if I find young men that fit that brand, and I think Florida State would be a good fit for that young man, I'll tell them. I'm not going to lie to them. When Drake came to talk to me about Miami and we discussed all of the pros and the cons, he made the best decision for his life. Same thing with Jamie when it came to Texas. Same thing for Trammell when it came between sticking committed to us and other different things. But when it comes down to like the business of getting kids to Florida State, if they want a kid and they ask me to help them get a kid, I will help them. And I think that's what the fan base, if you truly like them, just think about the energy and what you feel will change by telling people. Because if you don't feel it's going to change anything, then shut the fuck up. But you don't feel that way. You want to voice your opinion about how bad it is, right? And I implore you to do that. But what if you took that energy and said, you know what, it's bad. I'm going to use this tweet to get this off. I'm going to give myself 24 hours for a win, 24 hours for a loss. But now I'm going to go back. As soon as that's done, hey, man, this is where you need to go to. I need this kid to get here. As opposed to, why would a kid want to come here? I'm going to tell you this. If my kid read that every day from the fan base, he'd agree with you. Why would I want to come there? I'm gonna tell you one thing. A couple years ago, it was funny because some of you guys were so mad that I was at, and all I talked about was the W's and the L's and the X's and the O's. And some people had so much vitriol for that, it had kids wondering, like, damn, coach, do they really rock with you? And I was like, nah, man, don't listen to the haters like that. Most of the fan base does. I'll tell you this much. One kid asked, does the media want me to come here? Because I'm starting to feel they don't want me, they don't even want me here.
Dude, I will say that I'm sick and fucking tired of an article every fucking week. I've seen 15 articles about if Solomon Thomas is still committed or not. After he said twice, 100%, and then I swear to God, guys, I'm 100%.
We do the best job of it. I'm gonna be honest with you. If Solomon flips to Miami or to Florida, it has nothing to do with them recruiting that young man very well, and everything to do with him being tired of hearing the same, getting asked the same fucking question every day.
Stop it, dude. Fucking stop it.
But we have an opportunity. Boom. That's what I'm talking about, Gary.
Let's fucking go. I don't know if I can change the title of the show, but it's a big time commitment.
That's what I'm talking about.
So
I ain't even gonna lie to you. I don't know who the fuck that is, but
yeah, Mario. We've been on him for a minute. He was committed to Mississippi State. He just decommitted like 2 days ago.
Yo, that's who that kid is. Okay, that's the one I said he's gonna be our payback for Charles Cross. You're right. Yep. That's our payback for Charles Cross. My bad. You're right. Oh, yeah.
I didn't even think about that. That's been a minute ago. That sucked watching him play good ball. We struggled. Big time commitment.
Good shit. That's one thing we don't have is tackles.
Did we lost one of the guards, didn't we?
Not nobody that we had committed.
Okay, so we still have both the top 100 O-lines.
We still have both our linemen committed.
So this would be the third.
Man, Mario, they don't stop recruiting down in Miami, Charles. They don't stop recruiting, man. They're gonna keep recruiting them. But I'm just telling you,
we wasn't 52 long, were we? That'll bring us up a couple spots.
Yeah, man.
We Peyton Joseph. I can't remember. Solomon Thomas, Peyton Joseph, and now Mario Nash. Who knows? Maybe Chris can get that $2,500 after all. I think what we talked about at the beginning of the show with sliding Alex Atkins to just pass or run game coordinator with whether it's a UNLV guy or whoever they bring in, I think that would be I don't think you can afford to sacrifice these three players and whoever else they get. I think, like you said, in reference to like getting rid of Norvell, if they would, you're like giving the death sentence to this offensive line. If you're going to move on from Atkins and lose these three guys, like you can't. This is huge. I think this is a big feather in the cap for Alex Atkins. And with Duke coming up, like how we played after 17-0, a little momentum for the Noles. We were trying to talk about going positive, so here we go. Perfect timing. I'll take Nash over Petty any day of the week. He was a guard. We'll see what he does. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is more of a true tackle prospect.
Yeah, we need some tackles.
That's the biggest thing we need. And it's like, as great as Joseph and Thomas are, like, and that's even that other guy, like, was he going to be another one of these 4-star tackles or 5-star tackles and Josh Petty that we bring in that 2 years later is just playing guard for it,
Well, like I said, man, that's dope. He is from Mississippi, though. We haven't had the greatest luck from Mississippi kids.
That's been the thing. If Travis Hunter was here, and I know it stings to say that, but what would the season look like if you had somebody you could just throw it up a freaking country mile around him? Like, there's been some misses. It is what it is. It hasn't been the best recruiting coaching staff, but the people that want to just clear it out and you just get mad at everything, and I get it. Like, Alex Atkins, it's year 5. It's all 13,000 snaps. It should look better, but what's the solution going to be? What are you going to do? Like,
I mean, but even with the Travis Hunter thing, I always tell people it's just about it goes back to why I say, and every year I'll probably end up doing a show. I'll do something. It's called utilizing your resources. Just utilize your resources. You got, we have somebody that could have counteracted Deion Sanders. You know who it is? A guy by the name of Peter Ward. Peter Ward was literally lives in the Atlanta area. I asked Pete, did anybody ever ask you to go talk to Travis Hunter? Because they were saying on defense he could be the next Prime, he could be the next Peter Wark on offense, and I would have had him go Pete. It's hard to tell Pete no, man. Pete's good. Pete's good people. Pete's fun, man. But anyways, man, listen, guys. The reality of the situation, I love the support. All of us. I mean, one of the things I do, and I'm sure George does as well. I don't know how many. Let me see it. George, you're showing yours on Twitter too. See, George, I got 181 plus on my Twitter. You got 149 on your Twitter. I don't know how many you have on your YouTube. I'm not logged into my YouTube, so I have no idea how many I have on my YouTube. But like, we all love this, man. But like, this is what I do in my spare time. I'm not gonna like go look for negativity and bullshit in my spare time. So like, but again, at the end of the day, I'm gonna push my wins, and I'm gonna love on the fan base and shit. At the same time, like I ain't ducking. I got some major bets going out for the Miami game, and it looked like I might be a stimulus package, but I'm definitely hoping for the positive. That's all I can say.
So I just sent, I don't know if you can or not. I think you can. I sent you the link. You want to throw his huddle up there and let the people watch it since that just happened?
You sent it to me in
Yeah.
in our whatchamacallit chat. Sure.
Yeah, in our Facebook chat. Unfortunately, I can't. I'm not on the laptop. I filmed through
You
just the
good.
camera.
You good.
But yeah, big time, big time. We needed some damn good news. We needed some momentum. And yeah, this would be a good one. Folks in the chat immediately talking about we need a defensive tackle commit.
Hey man, I'm not.
We had that conversation earlier. We're gonna look at the bright side what we got going on right now because wide receivers, tight ends, all that stuff. You know, it all starts up front. We got to get a young offensive line. If we could get an offensive line like Norvet or like Jimbo Fisher got in 2011, where they stepped in and you had a nice core.
Jeremy George is up there.
Yep. There she goes. So we'll throw him up here. I got his huddle. I think it's about 6 minutes, and I'll just let James because he knows what he's looking at.
It says 200 attempts, no sacks. Oh, that's nasty. I like that. Getting down here, big boy. It's okay. So he's a right tackle. All right, so he's a right tackle. Okay, I like when they pull. That's what you need. Atkins likes that too. It's a good hard run by the running back.
I gotta pull it up on YouTube so I can zoom in and see it.
It could get a little faster.
These huddle tapes are kind of hard.
We run this play a lot. You guys like that little screen, quick screen? They just ran that. I know that
Yeah, nice hands on that. The defensive end, but don't do no good on that.
Oh, locks in. Yeah, okay. The one thing I always I like this side. I like the nastiness.
That dude he was blocking looked like he was 7 foot tall.
Yeah. Oh, pushing a guy in the end zone, laying on him. He's playing against some guys that aren't as big. Oh, okay. That aren't as big. And at the high school level, for him to be able to have that pad level that low, that's not bad. Ooh.
Damn.
Get out of the club. There we go.
That's the best play so far. That's the kind of fire we need at left tackle. Right tackle. Any tackle position. We man, the most fire we saw was 76 knocking Jakai out. Oh God.
That was funny.
That was a microcosm of this season, if ever I've seen one. Huge hit on the running back.
I wonder what level of comp. But a lot of times you're not going to see the highest level of comp with these different things. But
let me see where he's at.
But shout out to that.
Kemper County. Kemper County High School football. They are Division 3A, so I guess I'm not sure. That would be middle of the road here in Florida, but I'm not sure how many divisions they have.
Yeah, I don't know, but I
But 3A
mean,
was.
it is what it is. Hey, even if it was 3A here, that's the same division that Solomon's in. It's 3A, state of Florida. So, but I gotta bounce. Still give me some chow. Get back to binge watching. Snowfall. I don't watch a
I
lot
was
of TV,
wondering,
but it's
man. I haven't seen that show. I was about to ask you what you've been tweeting at because I'm always looking at good shows. I saw somebody else say that the first 3 seasons is as good as any show ever. I'm gonna have to give
bro.
that a try.
I'm
I'm
hooked. They do such a good job of developing characters and six degrees. It's basically they won't say it, but I'm putting this in 6 degrees of separation. So like you're seeing all of these different people in individual times, and then they're all their paths crossed at random moments, and then those random moments set up things for them moving on down the show. Um, I like it. I think the first couple of seasons of Power are pretty good. It gets a little. What happens is when people keep getting into the adventures, they call it jumping the shark. Like in this, like when Happy Days when Fonzie went surfing and he jumped the shark. Like it didn't make any sense. Like it was unnecessary. So like Power has some things that were just completely unnecessary to the development, and that's kind of what made me stop liking it. But I like that Snowfall is done, so I can binge watch all 6 seasons, and then I don't have to worry about anything else to try to catch up with it. I don't watch enough TV. Somebody told me to watch Godfather of Harlem. There's 3 episodes, there's 3 seasons, 10 episodes, but it's still on. So like if I watch these 3 seasons and there's nothing left for me to do right now, I'm not finna go watch. I don't do destination watching anymore. So,
yeah, it's
but yeah,
tough.
but I am definitely enjoying Snowfall. I've been staying up late at night. So if I'm not up at 9:30 a.m. to do my show on time, it's because I was up to 3-4 a.m. watching season 3 of Snowfall. So
Your
but it's good.
explanation, like that's what's been my biggest gripe about TV and everything in Hollywood is that not having the story building, the character development, and just letting the story tell the story instead of the extra things like you said in Power. That's what
Now I'll
drove
say
me to
this.
watching anime and things of that nature. But there's been some good ones. The show with what was the show that Tiny Hat put me on with Bryan Cranston? He's like a judge. I forget what it's called. But that was an amazing show. But I'm definitely gonna have to check out Snowfall. You piqued my interest. As soon as I finish the Faraway Palette, if anybody knows what that is called. Anyways,
But yeah, it's like I said, it's good. Now they do sprinkle a little community stuff in there that one of them makes absolutely no sense. Like it's just, but except for the dude just wanted to truly demean a man. I could have done without seeing, like, not just that because you don't see it. I could have done without knowing that it happened.
you
All the
can
other
feel the
stuff,
injection, but
yeah,
it's like fun.
all the other stuff, it kind of makes sense to the show. And what's funny is you've seen a lot of these, lot of the memes, like Snowfall. I've seen a lot of the memes. I've seen a lot of the reels, and
Okay.
I had no context to it. But then when you see it in the show, like you're like, oh, I remember that scene. Like one of the scenes is like the uncle Jerome, who's hilarious, and he's like, where the, he's like, it's supposed to be some bitch. It's supposed to be some bitch. What the I didn't know why he did it. It just looked like a guy who was supposed to be going to a party, and it was nothing but dudes that showed up. Well, you find out why, and then it's just kind of cool. So again, if you don't want to you don't like Florida State football because we're so bad and things aren't going our way, go watch Snowfall. That gives you something to do on a Saturday afternoon. I happen to love football, so I watch good football, bad football, all football. So. But on that note, I got to get back to
if you're
watch the
watching,
snowfall and eat some food.
if you're watching on my channel, go to @Den Media Group, all one word. Go subscribe, help get him to 10,000. If you're watching at Den Media Group or on Twitter, on either one of our Twitters, one of those 300 something people, please come subscribe to both YouTube channels if you're not already. We love you. Thank you so much for your time, James. Go get the Snowfall, and I'm gonna check that one out too. These shorts, You find out some new stuff, and it is fun having seen those for like a year, and then you actually go watch and find out it's like an Easter egg almost. So
Yeah.
we'll see you
All right,
guys, and
brother.
maybe we can have some of that shit with the football team too. Duke is going down next week. We're gonna kick some ass.
It's easy to abandon fundamentals. Easy to not communicate, not get the call. It's easy for those things to show up. And then you get to look back, and it's opportunity for regret. Everybody knows we're better than what we just put out there on that field. And that all